Alright, and here's our third and final section of today's lesson, vertical angles. So when we talk about vertical angles, I think it would be first a good way to find out what are vertical angles. So let's take a look here. Here I've labeled this angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and you know what? Let's even label this angle 4. A vertical angle is any angle that is opposite from the other side. So when we say vertical angles, we really mean opposite angles. So for example, if I were to ask you, what is the opposite angle from angle 4, would you say it's angle 3, 2, or 1? And hopefully you would say that angle 4 is opposite from angle 2. So if I were to ask you what's a vertical angle to angle 3, hopefully you would say angle 1, because they are opposite, they are across from each other. Okay. Now, if opposite angles are vertical angles, what do we call angles that are right beside each other? Well, we're going to call those adjacent angles. Adjacent. Okay? And so, for example, if I have angle 4, what is an angle that is right beside angle 4? Well, there's angle 1. But angle 4 also has another adjacent angle. If we'd gone to the other side, we could say that angle 3 is adjacent to angle 4. Let's try just one more pair. What if I said angle 1? What is adjacent with angle 1? What is right beside angle 1? Well, of course, we know angle 4, but also is angle 2. Now, I want you to notice something else about our adjacent angles that's very important. We said that angle 4 and angle 1 are adjacent, and notice not only are they adjacent, but they lie on a straight line. And from our previous video, what do we know about straight lines? Straight lines have a total angle measure of, correct, 180 degrees. So if I were to ask you to find angle 1, it would be pretty easy. We know that the whole minus the part is equal to the missing part. And so here our whole is 180 minus 108, our part, and we know that the leftover part should be 72. So it turns out angle 1 is 72 degrees. Now, even more interesting is this idea, wait a second, we said not only is angle 4 and angle 1 adjacent, but so are angle 4 and angle 3. And that means that angle 4 and angle 3 lie on the same line. Well, wait a second. If I know that angle 1 is 72, what should angle 3 be? Well, it should also be 72 degrees. And here, we've actually just found our big property about vertical angles. Not only are vertical angles opposite, they are also congruent. So what does the word congruent mean? The word congruent means equal. So anytime we have an angle that is exactly across from another one, it will always be the exact same angle. So without doing any work, could you find what angle 2 is? What is angle 2? What is angle 2's vertical angle? And because it's angle 4, angle 2 must be 108 degrees. Please pause this example, finish taking down any notes, but the big takeaway is that vertical angles are always congruent and adjacent angles are always supplementary. Remember, that's that word, supplementary, where they add up to 180 degrees. Alright, let's move on to our next example. Okay, here we are in example 2, and I'm just going to do kind of a quick little one right here. Say I give you 2 lines, and I say, you know what, this right here is going to be 22 degrees. And here is angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. And right off the bat, you should know one of these by heart. Which one is it? Angle 1, 2, or 3? Which one do you know right away? Well, it's our other vertical angle. Angle 2 must be 22 degrees. Now, what about 1 or 3? Well, remember, they're on a straight line, so 22 plus angle 1, those are going to have to add up to be 180. And so we can simply do 180 minus 22, which would give us 158 degrees. Now I know angle 1 is 158. And if I know angle 1, I also know its vertical angle, angle 3, which will also be 158. So those should be pretty straightforward. Pause the video, finish taking notes, and let's move on to our third example. Now in this example, I'm going to show you a geometric figure that we'll talk a lot about in the future, but here we're just going to talk about just one big idea. And actually, I'm going to draw that more like that. And what if I told y'all that this was, I'm going to call this angle A, and angle A is 12 degrees. And here I'm going to call this angle B, and let's say angle B is 146 degrees. And what if I were then to ask you to fill in all the corresponding, or I'm sorry, all the vertical and adjacent angles all the way next to it? Could you do it? Of course you could. If this is angle 12, then its vertical angle must be 12 degrees. And if these are both 12, well then its adjacent angle must be supplementary. We can simply do 180 minus 12, which would give us, anybody? Yeah, 168 degrees. And remember, if this top angle is 168, then this bottom must also be 168. Now here's what I want you to do. I would like for you to pause the video, and I would like you to see if you can fill in this angle, and this angle on your own. So pause the video, try it out. And what you should have gotten is this vertical angle here is going to be 146 degrees, and we know that these are adjacent to the 146, so 180 minus 146 will be 34 degrees. So that's 34, and that's 34. And now this takes us to our fourth and final example, which will be slightly difficult, so let's see what we get. Alright, example 4. Here's the big one, and we're actually going to wind up putting two completely different ideas together. And I'd like for you to draw this one on your paper. So let's start with the triangle, and I'm going to start this top one with A, and then we'll go B, and then we'll go C. And I want you to put a point somewhere in the middle. And from C, vertex C, through that point, I want you to go touch that side, and this will form point D. And we'll call this point E right there. And from vertex B through point E, we'll create another point. We can call this one F. And from vertex A through E, let's call this one G. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you two things, and I'm going to ask you to find a third. I'm going to tell you this. Angle FE, remember that's our center angle there, FEA is going to be equal to 30 degrees. And also, angle AED, so here's our very first one, 30 degrees, and here's our second one, angle AED, is going to be 12 degrees. And my question for you is, could you find me angle BEC? In fact, I would ask you pause the video and try and find this one on your own. And now that you're coming back, I hope that you pause it. We know that according to our vertical angles, we know that this angle right here is vertical to the 12 degrees, so it's also 12. We know that this angle right here is vertical to the 30, so it's also 30. And here, we actually have the angle addition postulate. We have the part plus the part is equal to the whole. And so what's 30 plus 12? Well, 30 plus 12 will of course give us 42 degrees. And there's our answer. Angle BEC is equal to 42 degrees. Alright, I hope this helps. If you are confused, I will have a link open for where I'll be hanging out in a Zoom classroom where you can come ask me questions. And good luck.